Hey, Anime Recap Guy is back, and you know what that means. Previously, we left Tanjiro dealing with Kibutsuji's loyal demons, Yahaba and Susamaru. While he had managed to behead Yahaba, we don't know whether it ended the demon. So let's find out. As expected, Yahaba's head is doing a lot of talking, and his body lets off a bunch of strong arrows towards Tanjiro of its own accord. This fight is not exactly over yet, is it? While the arrows bounce Tanjiro around, he continues to make a series of strong moves despite being weighed down by the arrows. With complete disintegration of Yahaba's head, the arrows tormenting Tanjiro vanish, and he falls to the ground. Such is the extent of his exhaustion that he cannot bear to hold his sword anymore, and has to resort to picking up the sword in his mouth and crawling towards where Susamaru is still wreaking havoc. Meanwhile, Yushiro is doing a good job of dodging the handballs that Susamaru sends his way. Quite surprisingly, her skills allow her to continue seeing him even when he turns invisible. While this shocks Yushiro into freezing on the spot in one of the handball's paths, Nezuko saves him by blocking it just in time. Not only has she successfully regenerated the leg she lost earlier, but she has the strength now to actually kick the handball back to Susamaru. She sees her younger brother in Yushiro, and anger fuels her to continue an intense back and forth kicking of the handball with Susamaru. Amazed at her strength, Yushiro asks Tamayo whether she gave anything to Nezuko for this enhanced strength she now has. Tamayo replies that she only gave Nezuko the healing serum, and adds that Nezuko is using her own energy to fight with such strength. Didn't I say empathy runs in this family? Definitely counts for strength. Worried that Nezuko's strength might not be enough if Susamaru unleashes her full potential, Tamayo prepares to support Nezuko. She tells Susamaru that Muzan Kibutsuji is nothing but a coward. Continuing to badmouth Susamaru's master, Tamayo goes on to say that he ensures that a band of demons do not plan his downfall by not letting them stay together. Susamaru keeps getting frustrated at hearing her master's criticism when Yushiro realizes that Tamayo has already executed her spell. Still upset, Susamaru happens to take the name of her beloved lord Kibutsuji in his defense as she realizes her blunder. Tamayo kindly informs her that this action will activate the curse, while Yushiro thinks of the effects of this spell that include the decrease of brain function to make it impossible to lie and keep secrets. Nice one, Tamayo. Tanjiro's crawling body gets him there just in time to see an arm protrude out of Susamaru's mouth and proceed to attack her face. And she's already spilling blood everywhere. Oh, the gore! Satisfying end to the handball demon, if you ask me. Tamayo informs Tanjiro that while demons cannot usually kill each other, Kibutsuji has the ability to destroy demon cells. This is why her curse worked, by activating Kibutsuji's cells in Susamaru's body to attack her and bring about her slow death. Just then, Yushiro rushes towards Tanjiro, pushing a piece of cloth onto Tanjiro's face to ensure that he doesn't inhale Tamayo's spell, as it is hazardous for humans. Tamayo then reveals another interesting tidbit about the two demons that they just took down. She says that neither of them were a part of the 12 demon moons. So, if such strong demons weren't eligible to be part of Kibutsuji's all-powerful clan, I fear what the actual 12 demon moons will be like. Oh. Taking a sample of blood from Susamaru for research, Tamayo heads towards Nezuko to check if she was doing all right after having inhaled her spell. As the rising sun burns away the last of Susamaru, Tanjiro realizes that Kibutsuji lied to her about being a part of the 12 demon moons and made her kill on his behalf. If this is what Kibutsuji does to his loyal followers, he sure is a demon of the evilest kind. When Tanjiro gets to the basement of Tamayo's house later, he is pleasantly surprised to be greeted by Nezuko herself. She then goes to give Tamayo a big hug, while also ruffling Yushiro's hair. Tamayo becomes a bit concerned about such behavior from a demon, and Tanjiro clarifies that Nezuko is being like this, probably because she thinks of them as family. Moved to tears, Tamayo thanks Nezuko. Aww, Nezuko having her own consciousness even as a demon is such a strength. Tamayo offers to continue to care for Nezuko while Tanjiro carries out his missions. While he ponders that this could be better for Nezuko, she reaches out to hold his hand, and he understands her wish. He thanks Tamayo for thinking of Nezuko's safety, but informs her that they would like to be together. Taking their leave, Tanjiro and Nezuko head southwest towards their next adventure. On the way, Tanjiro encounters a fellow final selection survivor, Zenitsu Agatsuma. When he asks for Tanjiro's protection on his next mission, Tanjiro asks him why he chose to be a demon slayer if he was so scared of death. He replies that he was tricked by a woman out of all of his money, and the old man that helped him get it back was a trainer. He describes his hellish training, saying that he preferred dying over having to train. In fact, he entered final selection with no hopes of coming out alive, and now since he survived, he is living hell every single day. Yeah, we needed some comedic relief, but I'm not sure about this guy. Okay, moving on. Traveling together, Tanjiro hands over his rice ball to Zenitsu when he says he was hungry. Touched that Tanjiro gave him the only rice ball he had, Zenitsu shares half of it with him. Tanjiro's crow then urges both Tanjiro and Zenitsu to get to their next stop. For someone who wasn't able to understand what his sparrow said, Zenitsu did not take well to hearing the crow speak. Let's just say he kinda lost whatever marbles he had left, shall we? How exactly was he getting his missions, though? And never mind. We are bound to know sooner or later. All through the forest they are walking through, Tanjiro tries to ignore Zenitsu's attempts to avoid the mission. Once they reach a house in the woods, Tanjiro senses a demon, but the scent feels like something he hasn't come across before. On the other hand, while he cannot smell whatever Tanjiro is describing, Zenitsu asks him if he can hear the sound he just heard. Looking around, Tanjiro spots 2 terrified children. After trying to distract them with Zenitsu's sparrow, Tanjiro asks the kids if this house was theirs. Denying, the boy tearfully replies that it is a haunted house. He says that he and his sister followed the blood trail of their injured brother all the way to the house where they saw a monster take him in. Assuring the siblings that he and Zenitsu will save their brother, Tanjiro turns his attention to the sound that only Zenitsu seems to hear. Suddenly, a bloodied man falls out of a window of the house and lands with an extremely horrible splat. Instructing the kids to look away while Zenitsu is shocked, Tanjiro heads over to the man to check if he could help. With his dying breath, the man informs Tanjiro that he somehow managed to get out of the house, but he had to go through a lot of trouble. When a terrified Zenitsu manages to ask Tanjiro if that was the brother they were supposed to be looking for, everyone hears an ominous sound coming from the house. The kids are scared, and so is Zenitsu. Tanjiro, on the other hand, is disappointed that they couldn't save this man. The little boy informs Tanjiro that their brother was wearing a different kimono than the dead man, which alerts Tanjiro that multiple people could have been abducted. Promising to bury this man later, Tanjiro tells Zenitsu to come along into the house. At Zenitsu's vehement refusal to join him, Tanjiro gives him a scary, devil-like look to secure his acceptance despite his fear. Leaving Nezuko in her box with the kids outside for their safety, Tanjiro proceeds to the house with a reluctant Zenitsu in tow. Once inside the house, Tanjiro messes with Zenitsu by saying that his bones haven't yet completely mended since his last mission, implying that he might not be able to protect Zenitsu all that well during this mission. Quite as expected, Zenitsu throws a fit and continues to freak out till Tanjiro notices that the 2 kids have followed them into the house. The boy explains that they were scared by the scratching noise from the box and hence decided to enter the house. Just then, the sound of a drum picks up. In his fear, Zenitsu pushes Tanjiro and the little girl into a side room. Inside the room, Tanjiro notices that the room changed with the beat of the drum before settling on a large room. Separated from her brother, the girl begins to cry. Tanjiro comforts her by assuring her that he will keep her safe. He also asks her not to worry about her brother, as Zenitsu will take care of him, and proceeds to ask her her name. When she fearfully replies that her name was Teruko, Tanjiro picks up on the demon's scent. They witness a terrifyingly huge monster walk past, and Tanjiro realizes that it was this very demon that had the strongest scent, meaning that he must have consumed a lot of people as the master of the house. Meanwhile, Zenitsu is mourning being separated from Tanjiro. The boy, Shoichi, reprimands him for being this scared and asks what the purpose of Zenitsu's sword was if his first thought without Tanjiro was to run out of the house. Oh, we all love a sassy kid spewing the truth. While Zenitsu is shocked by the boy's outburst, his fear wins and he drags the boy to the door with him. To his surprise, on the other side of the door was just more of the house, and not the outdoors as he was expecting. Oh, wow! Trouble in capital letters for you, Zenitsu dude! Zenitsu frantically opens every door, desperately looking for a way out of the house, but to no avail. Finally, behind one door, he comes across someone in a boar mask and completely loses it. Anyone wondering how this one survived final selection? The unknown person excitedly roars and jumps across to exit the room, leaving Zenitsu to his screaming. Tanjiro, meanwhile, tries to keep Teruko from screaming even while she trembles with fear seeing the monster in front of her. He asks her to go hide in the cupboard and not to make a noise while he overhears the demon's disappointment and anger at having lost its prey because of intruders in the house. Just when Tanjiro prepares to attack the monster with his sword, it beats the drum on his body, causing the room to turn sideways. Tanjiro realizes the magic of the blood demon arts. That's when he picks up on a non-demon scent. Crashing into the sideways room is the person with the boar mask, and he is wielding not just one, but two Nichiren blades. The newcomer then declares to the demon that he intends to elevate his rank in the core by defeating it. The boar man slips and falls when the room changes yet again to the beat of the demon's drum, while Tanjiro begins to understand how that works and realizes there are multiple demons in the house who could be controlling the room changes. With Teruko in tow, he exits the room and catches on to the strange scent of blood, such that he hadn't come across before. Behind another door, Teruko's brother sits with a drum and, terrified of being found, hits the drum once. Meanwhile, scaredy cat Zenitsu huffs and puffs through the house, only to be frightened by the voice of Shoichi behind him. While the poor kid tries explaining that Zenitsu's fear of the house is making him uneasy, he spots a demon behind Zenitsu. Shouting for it to stay away, Zenitsu runs away from the demon with Shoichi. Through all of Zenitsu's attempts to convince the demon that they aren't delicious meals, the demon continues to chase them. Falling into a room, Zenitsu realizes that Shoichi is truly scared too, and that he should be protecting him. But the sight of the demon entering the room behind them dissolves all of his resolve, and he faints. Are we sure this guy is a demon slayer? Poor Shoichi is left with no option other than to desperately yell for Zenitsu to wake up as he attempts to evade the demon's long tongue. This gets the bare minimum twitch of the hand from Zenitsu. When the demon's tongue had extended enough to just about reach Shoichi, it suddenly gets slashed at the tip and falls off. Zenitsu stands up in a stance to protect Shoichi behind him. Unsheathing his sword, he uses Breath of Thunder and attacks the demon with lightning-fast speed. Then, he seems to wake up and find the demon's head by his foot and gets scared all over again. Okay, so this is possibly how he survived final selection. But isn't it a bit sad that the dude lives his life in fear when he can actually pull such cool moves? Okay, Zenitsu thanking Shoichi for saving him is a highlight, though. Elsewhere in the house, Boar Man is running across the passages in search of the demon he has been tracking for 3 days. He comes across yet another large demon, and this time manages to hack off both its arms using his swords. Stepping on it, he beheads the demon and continues to rush through the house for more. Meanwhile, the demon with the drums is stomping through the house, intending to eat more people with rare blood with the intention of rejoining the 12 demon moons. Say what now? While it thinks back to the insult of having been ripped from the ranks of Kibutsuji's loyals, Teruko is having a happy family reunion with her brother, Kiyoshi. After introducing himself, Tanjiro tends to Kiyoshi's wound and then asks him what he has seen in the house. He explains that while the monsters fought amongst themselves, he was able to pick up one of the drums that fell from the demon's body and has been using it to hide from them by changing the room with its beat. Tanjiro's crow picks that moment to inform everyone that the demon is thirsty for Kiyoshi's rare blood because it results in more strength than usual blood, which is why it is a demon favorite delicacy. Whoa! The words that just came out of my mouth. Just then, Tanjiro senses the drum demon, Kyogai. He instructs Teruko to beat the drum to change the room whenever anyone opens the door to their room. Assuring Teruko and Kiyoshi that he will find them when he defeats the demon, Tanjiro heads out towards the demon. Having figured out the system of the drums and the changes they cause, Tanjiro is able to correctly navigate himself, but the speed of the change and Kyogai's attacks worry him a bit as his previous wounds aren't fully healed yet. Tanjiro can motivate himself to keep going, but will he really defeat this drum demon? We'll find out when we next meet. See ya!